Hi, my name is Megan, and I did my critical assignment on women's collegiate soccer. So, within this population, the girls are going to range from ages of 18 to 23. There's different positions that all interact with one another to create a cohesive team. For example, a forward is going to be have a lot different mindset and goals than a goalie does. So, especially with women specifically operate differently during the game, and there needs to be trust between the players, at least from what I've seen from personal experience. So, I chose this population because I played soccer for about 12 years and quit right before I hit college. And I also have experience working under an athletic trainer at Cal State Monterey Bay with the women's soccer team, which was a lot of fun. And also just my general passion for soccer and its positive psychological aspects on my life. As far as the physical, social, and family cultural environment, it's all gonna, play around the fact that they are in college and they're living on campus. So physically, it revolves around, like I said, living on campus and in dorms. A lot of them, this is the first time being away from family and living with other people. So it can either be one roommate or three roommates. So tight spaces, being in each other's space, how that affects them, and also feeds into the desire to compete when they're living with other teammates. Socially, there's going to be a lot of new and exciting experiences, especially within the first year. They're meeting new people, trying different things on campus, off of campus, within their, athletic team. Most likely they're living away from home, so it's a new social experience in that aspect. That also plays into family, so each player is going to have their own experience with this, but most are living away from their family for the first time. It can either be 10 minutes away, they live close to campus, or they can be like in a different state or even a different country. So it kind of depends individually. Initially, a lot of them are going to miss home. Some are going to be able to cope better than others, but they have that physical and social aspect to help them cope. Some have a solid support system and some don't, so this could be an issue with players. Within that, there's going to be some anxiety, so how they perceive the control over they have anxiety is really going to be important in this. And there's also been seen a correlation between anxiety and burnout. So those that saw that anxiety as facilitative had less of a chance of burnout by the time they reach their junior senior year versus debilitative, which is that's where we kind of really see the burnout. Social environment's really going to play a big role in the coping mechanisms that they have, the support from their family, and the added stress of just being in college in general, taking classes and trying new different things, being around a lot of different people. That's stressful. Their desire to compete might come from family starting at a young age, which can either be optional or forced. We either have that experience or know someone whose parents were really into football, so they did football, which ended up being what they love, but it was forced at first. Desire can also come from scholarship if they're trying to get a scholarship or keep one. It can either be intrinsic or extrinsic in nature, that desire. So hopefully it would be intrinsic, but the social support plays a big role in all of these aspects. But being surrounded by other athletes with similar desires can, increase that to compete, especially if, you're roommates with the other midfielder and you're trying to compete with them and who's going to start on Saturday. It's, can be an important dynamic. For the need for feedback, it can either be positive or negative. Usually you'd see athletes that react better with positive feedback, but some, kind of like more of that negative aspect of it. As in, not super negative, but, adjusting to the different coaching styles and how they receive that feedback. So in high school, their coach might have been a little bit more harsh, but they like that. But in college, the coach is a little bit softer and only says positive things to work on. So that can be different situations and how family gave feedback. So if your mom always showed up to the games and then gave you feedback right after, it can be different if you're in a different state and mom can't make it to the games. So that plays a role in it as well. The motivation, just like the desire to compete, can either be intrinsic or extrinsic in nature. A higher motivation can be seen due to social support that you have. So, you're living with other teammates that are super motivated and are so excited to get up early for weights and go to different practices and do better. So that can motivate you to be better as a player and as a teammate. Again, family can play a positive role in this motivation to keep them going. And scholarships can also be a big motivation. So if you initially started with that scholarship and you really need it as a financial basis, then that can motivate you to, keep playing really good and keep that scholarship. So for the goals, for outcome, the two that I have are as a long-term goal to have the most amount of points by the end of the season, and also as a team to score at least 2 goals during each game. Performance-wise, if the team's averaging 50% scoring goals off of corner kicks, you want to increase that to at least 60. And also, each midfielder has a goal of completing at least 1 assist during each game, whether it's a goal or not. For the process, you can have an example of a midfielder that's having a hard time keeping the ball and having that ball control during straightaways. So we're going to have her focus on keeping even strides with the ball and completing a pass to another player. We also have an individual who overshoots on goal. So her goal is going to be to practice, leaning over, taking a moment before each time she tries to take a shot on goal and aiming within the limits of the goal. To obtain these goals for the outcome, to get a lot of points, the players are going to need to work together and have a high performance each game. Communication and trust are going to be very important between the players and coaches, and they also have to have a positive environment to work in. Players should also work with one another to have a solid game plan from the coach to achieve at least 2 goals per game. So within this goal to have at least 2 goals, that's going to play into having points by the end of the season, so kind of feed into each other. Practice drills during each practice, shooting on different goals in different situations. For performance, the team should incorporate corner kick drills at least twice a week just to practice different simulated environments with a goalie and aggressive defenders. For the midfielders, they should practice assisting and making long crosses to the players at least twice a week in that, drill and scrimmage type environment. For a girl who's having a hard time with ball control, she should be running 10 half-field sprints while maintaining ball control at least 3 times a week. And then our girl who overshoots should have a goal of shooting 3 shots on goal after practice without a goalie. Taking a moment before each shot to compose herself, at least 3 times a week so she can get really good. As far as my mission statement, the verse that really stood out to me that I heard from a professor a couple courses ago was Matthew 9:35-38. So the important part of this verse that's highlighted is when he's talking about the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. So in terms of kinesiology, the harvest is great for people to help out in this field. So, with athletes that are trying to handle, the stress and anxiety of playing, and then when they get injuries and dealing with the psychological aspect of that, I feel like it's my job to partake into the harvest, and I have had a calling to take my expertise and my compassion and desire to help into this field of kinesiology, whether it be on a college athletic team or at a YMCA or, a local gym. I just in general, this verse has really resonated with me, and that's kind of been in the back of my mind throughout my studies. And by the time I graduate in May, I can, go out and make a difference. And one really cool thing that I learned that I want to try to incorporate into my job that I have now and then also in the future is the whole idea of reducing stress and anxiety with exercise. So especially the aspect that not all cases of stress and depression and anxiety are psychopathological stress, but simply just subjective distress. So that uncomfortable feeling that people can get. Some people have a hard time coping and can't handle that as then other people can. So just the fact that studies have shown that exercise training can reduce anxiety for people with high or low anxiety is incredible. I think we should be practicing this more, especially, with healthcare and, obviously kinesiology type of thing. And I also want to look more into the studies on adherence, even though benefits are seen and felt. So like even for athletes, when they're done playing the sport, they know that exercise is good for them and helps with stress, but we still fall off that bandwagon and it's hard to pick it up back up. So why does that occur? Is there, a psychological sound reasoning for it, or don't know, I have to study it. And these are my references. Thanks for watching.